You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about. Like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW. Let us surprise you.
You're listening to Make Some Noise Podcast, episode number 727 with guest Heather Chauvin. Welcome to Make Some Noise Podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so glad that you're here. We are full swing in spring, and guess what? We have a new interview for you. I didn't mean to make a poem, but sometimes I do that. We are full swing in spring. Yes, Heather Chauvin is a friend of the podcast now. She's been on several times. I always love my conversations with her. If you are brand new to her, if you've never heard her here on the show, you will probably notice that when we begin, it's a little casual, like you're just jumping into a conversation that's been taking place for a long time. But I assure you, it's just because Heather's been on the show so many times. And so we're talking about boundaries today. And Heather is big on getting your time back. She's big on energy boundaries, emotional discomfort to get you to where you are. And that's why I always love a good conversation with her. We do also talk about some psychedelic work that I didn't know this until she told me in the episode, but she got interested in psychedelics because of the changes that she'd seen in me, the positive changes that she'd seen in me, and hearing me talk about it a lot. And so that's towards the end of the episode. I wanted to let you know, please follow me on Substack. Please follow me on Substack. I have a plan for writing some series. I'm unpacking some pretty big things like the internalized patriarchy that we've all experienced, that I certainly have experienced. I'm thinking a lot about decentering men. I had a podcast episode about it a couple of months ago, but it's really been something that's on my mind lately, and I've been writing about it over on Substack. So I would love to have you join me over there and join conversations about some of the topics that I'm writing on, as well as if you are thinking about some private support that you could use in the terms of coaching, then I would love for you to check out and see if we could be a good fit together. I have some openings this summer for one-on-one coaching, and I have a couple of different offerings where I help women. So I'll put those links in the show notes. And for those of you that don't know Heather, let me tell you a little bit about her. Heather Chauvin is a leadership coach who helps successful women courageously and authentically live, work, and parent on their own terms. Heather started her career as a social worker, helping adults understand children's behavior. But it wasn't until 2013 when a stage 4 cancer diagnosis pushed her to take a deeper stand for change, uncovering how cultural expectations sabotage our dreams. She's been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Real Simple Magazine, Mind Body Green, Google, and more. So without further ado, here is Heather. Heather Chauvin is back on the show. How lucky are we?
Oh, how lucky am I
Tell us about that.
to be in your presence?
Oh, I thought you were going to send us down a little gratitude hole for all the things that you saw this morning.
The dog shitting on the floor,
Real life stuff.
my children not getting out of bed in time, my husband being out of town, and me as a quote unquote strong, hyper independent woman going, oh shit, I'm very interconnected and codependent on a man. I don't like that. Blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wild ride in the world of humanness. I often think, here's the interesting part. It took me forever to let the walls down. I've been with my husband for 18-ish years. My oldest was 1.5 years when we met. And I forever kept those walls up because I didn't want to get hurt. And then once they came down, my brain has actually shifted to, well, you're going to die on me one day.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, that's yes.
You're like, where are we going to start?
Pesky brains. Pesky brains reminding us of those things when we're in. Okay. So only slightly shifting gears because I wanted to ask you about this recent podcast interview. No, it wasn't an interview, it was a conversation that you had with your husband. And I love that you're somebody who has, and this is experience that I don't have, like you're still married to someone that you married pretty young. Had children with this person. And in this particular episode or conversation that you had with him, you were talking about building respect in terms of boundaries individually, like having lives individually while still choosing each other every day. So can you give us the gist of like kind of the key takeaways of that conversation? I found it super interesting.
I don't even remember what that conversation was about. And the episode, which is on the podcast, Emotionally Uncomfortable.
1228. I'll put
Perfect. But here's the gist of it. When I met my husband, I was a year and a half out of having my first child. I had my son when I was 19 years old. So I was super young when we met. I remember always having this armor of we come as a package, but always this like, I will never, my belief, and Andrea, you may be like, oh, wow, I never thought like that. I was the opposite. I'm like, a man will never take my power away. I also grew up with a single parent mother who always chose men over me. So my coping strategy was I'm going to be guarded. Nobody will ever come in. I also, and I'm just being honest, and I have said this to my husband before, when we first met, I was not attracted to him at all. I did not understand that, trauma bonding is like attraction. And so like try to do the opposite. It took me a very, very long time. I was like, oh, you're not a drug addict. Oh, you're not this. You're not that. I kept going, well, you may be a good father. You look like and sound like a good human. And it took me a very, very long time to actually create connection. That said, for whatever reason, now I see, I'm not saying now I see that value, but now I'm like, he's my person. He has been there since I was like, even when I had stage 4 cancer, we've had 2 additional children together, but I demand my own identity. That has always been my through and through. I also demand that he has his own identity, which he has had resistance to. And we challenge each other on that in the sense of like, he keeps me super grounded because I can have my own identity, but I can also be very like, let's go here, let's go here. So he keeps me a little grounded, which I think is boring. And so we balance each other out energetically that way. But I will always, we will co-create together. But I'm like, I don't want to feel dead inside or less than or disrespected because I'm in a partnership with somebody. And that's not even in my marriage. I've noticed that in business too.
Okay. So when you talk about creating an identity that's outside of the relationship, can you give us some examples of what that looks like? Because I think it can be like one of those terms that people like, they're like, that sounds good in theory, but what does that actually mean?
Yeah. So I don't even think people know who they are in general. Like a lot of the women that I attract, because motherhood is like a huge keystone of my like brand and what I talk about. They're like, my children are getting older. I don't even know who I am outside of motherhood. I often, first of all, it's not going to be a quick fix. It may not come to you right away, and that's okay. And I don't know if you feel like this, Andrea, but it takes time. Like you need some mental capacity to figure out what brings you joy.
Yeah.
What you enjoy. So something as simple as recently I started to, do a few more keynotes, public speaking. And I looked in my closet and I haven't done much external public speaking since pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't wear this on stage. So I'm looking, I don't just want to wear something that's trendy. I want to wear something that feels like me. That's a whole process. what the hell feels like me when I don't
Don't
get
even
dressed
know
every
what the answer to that is. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like these little glimmers, these little like I always like to use the journal prompt, wouldn't it be nice if?
Hmm.
And then I look and I observe what like brings me joy. What do I love? What like ooh, what like opened my heart? What brought me like and I'm so diverse. I can climb a freaking mountain and then I can sit in silence. I can meditate and then I'll then tell you to like get shit done. And so it's like there's so much diversity inside of me, but it's like what's internal instead of external. Are you doing it as a pleaser? Are you doing it because that's what good fill in the blank does?
Hmm.
Is it because your neighbor's driving that car? You have to drive the car? Like, what brings you actual joy? And are you trying to justify it? Versus, like, am I tampering my ambition or weirdness or awkwardness down because I should be happy over here? I think it's like such nuance, but it's like, what the hell do you want?
Yeah. I also think that an unintended side effect of when we start asking ourselves those questions is the realization that we have been building our life for other people. And there's a lot of feelings that come with that realization.
I think that's the truth as to why people avoid it. I would say I journal a lot, but I really don't. I reflect a lot of what is inside of me. Like I use my emotions to guide me back home to myself. So I'm like, I'll write resentment lists.
Mhm.
And I'm
What
like,
people
what
you're
am
mad
I
at. Mhm.
yeah, I'm like, who am I mad at? What am I resentful about? Because that is an indicator that I've crossed my own boundary.
Yep.
What's working, what's not working. So you just start with the easiest thing. We always know what's not working. We always know where we're angry at. We know what we don't want to
What you want
experience
less of.
anymore.
Mhm.
Yes. And so it's like start there and then flip it and then be curious and playful with it. Another interesting thing, yes, it goes hand in hand with my husband and trying to find identity outside of partnerships or motherhood, but watching my children and go, like, I'm trying to find their strengths right now, not like, you should do this, you should do this. And I have one of my kids, I have three boys. The youngest is like wildly creative. And I'm watching where I'm like, oh shit, I think I'm a little bit like him. And he is sparking that creativity in myself that I don't think it's ever been nurtured or
Mhm.
acknowledged. And so watching him, I'm like, interesting. So it's always fascinating. You can see yourself in other people too. And so it's
Yeah.
like, what are you nurturing and feeding versus what are you like tampering down?
What are you nurturing and feeding versus what are you? Yes. And I think that we've spent the majority of our life tampering things down and not realizing it. I went through a phase like that when I left my marriage in 20, which is fairly recent, 2023. And I knew going like leaving it, I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. Like just don't know my identity right now.
Yeah.
Plus, we were like very, very post COVID, still in that, and I was sick and dealing with other stuff too. But I say all that because like I went through a phase where I just was like, what did I like to do as a kid?
Yeah.
And I wrote about this in one of my books too. It's like if you're having trouble figuring out like what's fun in your life, like think about the stuff that you did as a kid when you had all the permission in the world to play. And what I have found, what brings me joy now is like I talked about this in another podcast episode. I'm not a big musical theater kid, but I love certain soundtracks to like the play in a movie Grease. Annie is another one. Like I will sing Easy Street like
Yeah.
give me my kitchen and nobody's home except me and my dog and like I even looked on Amazon the other day to find a pair of tap shoes because I'm like, you know what? I'm an adult. I can just wear tap shoes in my house. Have you ever worn tap shoes like just for fun? Like I did as a kid. I drove my parents nuts.
No, but what a gem.
You okay, so
I'm gonna
just
buy some tattoos.
walking, like you create music, just walk. It's so fun. So it's like these
Yep.
little things like that that bring me excitement. That is what I would want my clients and people listening to go after. Cause like, I don't know, they might hate tap shoes or the soundtrack to Annie, but like what is your thing? It's
Yeah.
also for me, it's like spending a lot of time just wandering around outside.
Yes.
I don't not have to walk my dog. I don't have to meditate. Just what whatever.
Yep. You're bringing up this conversation. Like, I know originally you were talking about like finding your identity in your relationship. Here's the interesting part. The conversation we're having right now is you don't have to blow up your life necessarily. Sometimes we do because we're so out of alignment. We need to take big, courageous action. But a lot of times I'm having conversations with women and just communicating what they need is so emotionally uncomfortable that I'm like, they don't know how to say it and opening their mouth. And I'm like, listen, what we resist will persist and grow bigger. And like the bigger conversation that we're having here is I believe the more alive you are, that's what everyone needs from you. Like everyone's always asking, how do we scale? How do we be more productive? You know, like self-care, blah, 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 putting yourself on the calendar. I'm like, self-care should cost you $0. Yes, maybe it will cost you tap shoes on Amazon, but it can also cost you like, hey, we have to have a really uncomfortable conversation. Hey, I was really nervous. I was really nervous to like going back to that podcast episode that we were talking about with my husband and I. One of the quote unquote tools that we were doing is a weekly meeting. And we put it on the calendar, and the resistance that I hear from people of like, my partner won't do that. And I'm like, that's okay. My partner wouldn't do it at the beginning either. But like, be persistent in your pursuit of joy. Be persistent in the life that you want. Do the damn meeting by yourself. Like, what do you have control over? And eventually you learn to co-create with them or you don't. But like, we have to pay attention to what it is actually costing us instead of staying emotionally comfortable. I just think we're living in a time where we no longer have the privilege to like put our heads in the sand anymore. Like people are literally dying and we can't just shrink and become apathetic. We have to fight to feel alive.
Absolutely. Okay, we need to take a quick ad break. When we get back, I want to ask you about making decisions. So we'll be right back. You know how it goes. You're trying to eat healthy, so you stock up on all this beautiful produce, and then life happens. You don't know what to cook with it, and you don't feel like cooking, and a week later, you're throwing half of it away and feeling guilty about it. That absolutely was me. I was the produce killer. Here's what I've learned. Fad diets fail because they ask you to fight for your own life. Green Chef works because it fits into the one you already have. Every week you get over 40 recipes made with organic produce, responsibly sourced proteins, and ingredients you can actually pronounce. You can pick what fits your goals, Mediterranean, high protein, or their new longevity line, built around brain and gut health. Meals come pre-portioned and ready in minutes, and they even include free, unlimited one-on-one nutrition coaching. Green Chef is the only certified clean meal kit tested by the Clean Label Project and the most sustainable one out there. I have for sure been the produce killer, and that's exactly why I love Green Chef. I use it, and you should too. Head to greenchef.com/50noise and use code 50noise to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months after that. Again, that's code 50noise at greenchef.com/50noise. This show is sponsored by Meaty Health. Listen, there are times in life when we practice acceptance. I talk about it all the time here on the show. We let things go, we breathe through it, we rise above, but menopause, not one of those times. If you're in perimenopause or menopause and something feels off in your body and you're being told you're too young, it's just stress, or your symptoms are normal, don't let them tell you that. If your hair is thinning, your sleep is not okay, your mood is on a roller coaster and someone just shrugs it off, don't let them. If hot flashes are hijacking your life or it's taking months or years to get real answers, don't let them. You deserve actual care, not dismissal or gaslighting, and no outdated information from a system that was never built with midlife women in mind in the first place. That's why I love what Meaty Health is doing. They're a virtual clinic created by women for women, specializing in midlife hormonal transitions. They personalize treatment, offer FDA-approved hormonal and non-hormonal options, and they're available 24/7. And yes, they take insurance. This is about advocating for yourself. This is about better care, period. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Okay, I've heard you say you're not stuck, you're avoiding a decision. And so if you were like maybe working with a client, how do you help them move from avoidance, which a lot of times that's where we're at, into a decision-making space? And especially like in a decision-making space that doesn't feel forced, because I think, we can do that and that doesn't feel good either.
Yeah. If you deeply trusted yourself, what decision would you make today? If you deeply trusted yourself, what decision would you make? And I think the answer that we get is typically the one we know we need to make. But when we make a decision, we have to deal with the natural consequence of that decision, which requires feelings, which requires disruption, and which requires potential fear of failure or imperfection, right? Yeah. And that's really what I think we're avoiding. And what I've realized over the last, especially few years, I could say it's 5 years, but when my back is against the wall, whether it's in a relationship or whether it is in business or my health, the faster you make a decision from a place of alignment, like know your vision, know where you're headed. I mean, your vision doesn't need to be clear, but know what you don't want to experience anymore and go, shit, I'm just going to try it. Sure, you're throwing noodles at the wall sometimes, but then things start to stick and you can become a little more strategic with your decision making. Most of the time it's really, really uncomfortable because it's wrapped in newness. There's going to be uncertainty on the other side of that. And I do think sometimes it's easier to outsource. And I've done this too. I'm sure you have as well. Outsource our power, outsource our intuition because, we've hired an expert or somebody else knows better than us. And most of the time it comes back and I'm like, for crying out loud, I knew that. Why did it take me 2 years to circle back to that? Like I've lost so much time and so much energy because I just didn't want to say what I deeply knew deep down. And so I'm like, if we just start to make little micro decisions internally, the big ones don't feel as big and scary until like it's blowing up in our face and then we have no other option.
It's the whole decision-making conversation. It's interesting. So when you asked that question, if you deeply trusted yourself, what would you do? If you asked me that, if you were my coach and you asked me that, and I was stuck in a decision, my response immediately would be trust myself enough to do what? If you are someone listening and that was also your answer, the next step is to...
Well, number one, you would have to know, like, we would have to be very clear on the question that you're asking, right? So we would come up with the question or the scenario, and I would ask you, what decision would you make? If you deeply trusted yourself, what would you do? The other thing I often ask is, what advice would you give somebody else in this exact same situation? I truly believe when we're just like sitting with ourselves, even if you're like, I don't know, that's evidence right there. Like you're stuck. Yes, your body is going to be physically stuck. We're scared. Like there is like a nervous system response, but sit with that. I don't know. Sit with it until it cracks.
Yeah.
What would you tell someone?
Well, because if someone said, trust myself enough to do what? Because that's where my brain immediately goes. It's like, if you're asking me to make a decision based on trusting myself that I'm going to make the right decision, trusting myself that I'm resilient if it doesn't work out. Like there's different ways of trusting myself. And so that's where I would, as a coach, that would make me very interested that they're questioning that in particular. So what is it about trusting yourself that feels hard or that is giving you resistance? What is your history with trusting yourself? Do you have a relationship at all with self-trust? Like, because I think, don't you think sometimes like it comes down to that? Like we just don't, there was a point in my life where I picked my head up and I was like, I don't have hardly any experience trusting myself.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's why the uncertainty is so big in I don't have evidence of what that version of me looks like.
Right.
So that's why people often ask, like, if the results were 100% guaranteed. But I think if you can get to that point, you're like, oh shit, now I know why I don't make decisions.
Yeah.
Okay. Lack of self-trust. Great. We got to the core of a root. And so this isn't about, can somebody please give me a strategy on how to, right? Because we're asking those surface level questions. So let's get to the root. Okay, great. Deep self-trust. Great. Let's focus on that. Make little baby trust decisions instead of the big ones. Sometimes I'll have women that come to me and they're like, I think I'm headed towards a separation. Okay. Let's focus on you and strengthening you before you have to make that big decision. It may be inevitable, but regardless, you're going to be in a relationship with this person forever and ever, internally or externally. And we need to strengthen you before you can even get to that. So maybe that's the end goal, but there's a journey to get there.
Yeah. And it's kind of infuriating for me, at least. Like, I think that we live in a culture that is so hell-bent on doing things like making the right decision. Like, this is why I really don't like, you mentioned the expression, like you said something like, yeah, sometimes it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And I'm like, most of life is throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like, it's like you have to experiment to see what works, to see what brings you joy, to see what kind of person you match well with in terms of a relationship. Like, so much of life is experimenting. And if I could successfully sell the way for people to feel confident in their own resilience, to trust their own ability to get back up after they quote unquote make the wrong decision, because that's what we're afraid of. Like, it's not really about like, should I move to Canada or should I move to Barcelona, like, or Spain? Like, it's not that. It's like, my real fear is that I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick myself up and face other people if I move to Canada and it doesn't work out, or if I move to Spain and it doesn't work out. Like, that's really what you're afraid of. If we can get better with the uncertainty, and like, I'm raising my hand over here, like, fuck uncertainty.
Well, life is uncertain. Everything is temporary.
Everything is vulnerable and uncertain. Ugh.
Yeah. You throw the noodle, you're like, okay, that one keeps sticking. I'll rinse and repeat. And then the wind changes direction and life changes. You're in a different season. But like you're saying, okay, I have evidence that I keep getting back up. And therefore, I know I am capable of figuring this out. I know I am capable. I have critical thinking skills. I've made it this far. I can take the next step in front of me.
Yeah, I look at that like when I think about marriage, and people ask me, because now I've been divorced twice, and people are like, do you think you'll ever get married again? And I'm like, fuck yes. I love marriage. Like, clearly, would I do it very different? Absolutely. Like, I would never do it without a prenup this time, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that for a lot of people, they look at, 2 marriages behind them and they're like, okay, no, it's clearly not working out. I'm not doing this again. But I'm over here like, I have evidence. I'm lucky enough to be 50, have 2 marriages behind me, and the evidence that I can bounce back and have a glow up. Like, why would I want to do that again?
Yeah. And evidence of what works, what doesn't work. Like, everything in life is just about experience. And it's so wild how we define success, what success looks like. And I forget who it was I saw doing a podcast interview, who they're like in their late 40s, never been married, very little long-term relationships. And they're like, I am so happy. I have such beautiful quality relationships in my life. And people look at me and think that I should be sad or that I should feel a certain way. And they're like, do you know how many friends I have that are in horrific relationships that refuse to leave because it feels like failure to them. And I'm over here going, yeah, I might have a gap. I might feel lonely in certain aspects of my life, but the quality of other relationships are so rich. And I do feel like we're always looking at that tiny, tiny gap that we need to fill or what is not working in our lives and doubling down on evidence as to why we're failures. And I'm like, it's all temporary. It's all this like timeline and story that we put on ourselves and the meaning we attach to it. Yeah.
Can I ask you, like, switch gears a little bit? Because I know that last time you were on, we talked a little bit about psychedelic therapy and sort of your experience with that. And several months have passed, and I know it's still a part of it's a little bit a part of the work that you do. Can we hear from you? Like, who do you think is a good candidate? Because we have a lot of crossover with our audiences. Like, what kind of client do you see that would be good for psychedelic therapy?
Okay, so you were a huge part of me diving into this for my own journey and personal development because of your background in sobriety. And I was like, I know that if she's diving into this, number one, she's put a lot of thought and energy into it. And then just seeing you on the other side, or hearing you on the other side of like I'm going to call it lightness. I feel like obviously everyone's journey is completely different. What I have seen, and I'm just going to talk from my own personal experience instead of qualifying people on who's a good candidate. This is what I've noticed is within myself, part of the reason why I got into it was because when you do a lot of personal development, you develop what I perceive as a very thick skin around, I already know that. I already know that. I've read that book. I've written the book. I've gone to therapy. I've done the damn thing. Your ego, you need to surrender a little bit. And something sometimes needs to get you to do that so you can get out of your own way because you can't intellectualize your transformation. Like your mind and your body need to be connected, but sometimes it's like you've done the hard work. You've done all the emotionally uncomfortable work required. Like, let this be quote unquote easy. What I have actually seen in myself and other people is you get to a point where, you know, you've checked all the boxes, you have a toolbox of tools, and you're like, something is off. It's not working. And I'm like, then you have to think outside the box. You have to try something else. For me personally, because I don't like quote unquote feeling out of control. I don't like going into it. I have a lot of anxiety leading up to it. And it's not because I'm like, what am I going to see? What am I going to experience? I feel so much joy and lightness on the other side. I don't like that feeling. What I have realized is how quickly we disassociate. We disassociate from our mind, our desires, ourselves, and we just start checking the boxes, and it's a slow burn. It's death.
You mean like that we dissociate during a psychedelic trip or another time?
In our regular everyday lives,
okay.
Like how we become numb to our true essence.
Yes.
And how much actual capacity we have to hold. So when people are like, I'm burnt out, I'm fatigued, I'm this, I'm that, I'm out of alignment, it's just because we haven't decluttered. And so for me personally, what I've witnessed in the clients that have done it is I'm like, ladies, we have been chugging along on this life. The more wisdom, the more life experience you have, you know, you declutter your closets, but you haven't really looked within your mind and your body and your soul. And for me, it's like a deep decluttering, a deep letting go, and just clarity and ease and like a nice, beautiful reset. Yeah. So qualifiers, anyone who's like, this shit ain't working, I got to try something new. I don't know about you, but I've heard so many women say there's been something, I could feel it inside of me and I couldn't get it out. I've tried it all. I couldn't get it out. And I just felt that lift from my chest or lift from my body. Yeah, a lot of emotional freedom, of clarity, of seeing where you're trying to seek control or gain control in your life. You call it something else. You call it care. You call it nurturing. You call it mothering. You call it partnership. But where you're actually trying to do somebody else's work for them instead of looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think?
Love that explanation so much. Like, I am so glad I asked the question because I couldn't have said it more beautifully and succinct. And it's interesting. I did a psilocybin journey about 2 months ago with Dr. Fox, my partner, and he described it similarly to you. And he said, I feel like with psilocybin, and it was my first time doing psilocybin in like 25 years. So it was like an entry. And he said, and it feels like a scrub brush for my brain. Like I feel like a special scrubber, not a sponge, but like the scrubber side, like goes through in all of my nooks and crannies in my brain and just like cleans it out. And I was like, I wouldn't have described it that way, but it sounds similar to what you're describing.
Yeah. And I also have watched people on the other side, and we don't really, it's a head nod, it's a wink. It's like there's no words to put into it of what it's like. And I wasn't attracted to it.
Yeah.
At all. I had a client who I would identify as like type A, check the boxes, super optimistic in life. And she kept going to her natural path, and it was recommended. She's like, this is not a hormone challenge. This is like a trauma, like emotional. We've done all these things, XYZ. And her naturopath gave her a referral. And I watched her. She didn't say anything to me. She actually said, "Oh, Heather, you should try this, da da da." And I was like, "Nope." Like immediately, I'm like, "I'm not interested." Like there's no desire there. I'm not in a crisis. I have no desire to do this. But there was like a tiny curiosity. So I kept leaning into like, what is that? What is that? Because I don't like, I don't like trendy things either. And so
Okay.
I'm like, if it's trendy, I don't want to do it. So that rebel comes out.
Yes.
And I watched her because she supported me. So I host these quarterly in the summer from like May to October, these like cottage retreats. And she helps me. And so I saw her once a month, and I saw her personality change month over month over month. And I was like, okay, I'm in. Just by how you're leading, you're not preaching anything to me. I said, let me just try it, because people are asking me to host, like not to facilitate, but to hold the space and have a facilitator come in. And I did it. And I was like, damn, that is, yeah. I like to buy back my time and energy. And that was an accelerator.
Yes. That's how I put it too. Like it feels like a little, like the way I describe it is there are people who, there are modalities that sort of move the needle faster. Like it's a jump in trajectory in terms of my growth for me personally. Some of the things that have done that have been the more somatic modalities, but like I have moved mountains even just with talk therapy. Like when you find the right therapist who really gets you and asks you the right questions, you can have that. I felt like, and you're right. I looked at it for years. I watched as more research was being dumped in over the years, starting probably about 10 years ago, slowly and quietly, and have been watching it. And it's exactly what you said. Like it feels like next level. And I love that you used the expression thinking out of the box, like, because we have our toolbox and many of those tools will continue to work. And I go back to so many of them that I teach personally. Mm-hmm. And then we get to a certain point in our life where some things just need different tools. That's how I look at it. But thank you for sharing that. Yeah, go ahead.
And there's no quick fix, right? So it's like, what's your intention going in? Are you like, this will fix me, this will change it all? Because it won't, right? It's a collective, it's a holistic. You might get some awareness or feel a little lighter, but I think we have to go back to like, what is our relationship to quote unquote personal development or the work or who we want to become? Because if it's like, this thing's going to change me, check the box, check the box, check the box. You might feel, if you just sit there twiddling your thumbs, but it's an integration approach.
It's an integration approach. And the way I've experienced the difference between so I've to date, as we're recording this, it's for therapy purposes, I've used ketamine, psilocybin, and ayahuasca. And the differences between, I'll just briefly talk about psilocybin and ayahuasca. Psilocybin to me felt like, it was a way for me to have some new awareness that I might not normally have stumbled upon. And also almost like cracks open things that I already knew. So like if someone's maybe struggling to process and feel certain emotions, psilocybin, you might be able to visit that during a psilocybin session. It just sort of like opens it up and almost like gives you a safe place to process it, and like where, like going in, you're like, okay, this is happening to me. I'm experiencing this emotion deeply, and it's going to suck, but I'm going to be okay. Like that's kind of the gist of the experience. Ayahuasca, on the other hand, similar but different. The way I would describe it is like, I felt like I met my soul. Like I was presented with her and like I got to dance with her, and I was not leading the dance. I was not leading the meeting. I was not leading the experience at all. And all I had to do, and I say this almost sarcastically because it was not easy, is surrender to the experience. And the more I surrendered to it, the more I got out of it. And I definitely think ayahuasca is like a level up from psilocybin. But that was my experience. And I'm an evangelist, but again, not for everybody. So I appreciate your experience.
I'm going to tell you something edgy.
Okay, wait, we need to take one more ad break. And when we get back, I want you to tell us. So we'll be right back, everybody.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Get business done with the new American Express Graphite Business Cash Unlimited card. With unlimited 2% cash back on all eligible purchases. Unlimited 5% cash back on flights and prepaid hotels booked through American Express Travel Online. And a flexible spending capacity that can grow with your business. You'll have the confidence to keep building. Apply today and earn a welcome offer of $1,500 cash back after you spend $50,000 in qualifying purchases on your new card within the first 6 months of card membership. Terms apply. Learn more at go.amex/graphite.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Okay, tell us the edgy thing.
Okay, so we recorded this on the podcast. It was a recent episode. I don't know what number it was, but it was a candid conversation I had with my oldest son, who's now 20. Mm-hmm. As his mother, I encouraged him to do psilocybin at the beginning of 2025. It was one of the most, I would say, scary decisions that I made, because there's like addiction in our family. And that seems to be always like the challenge people have of like, I don't want to do this because drugs, blah, blah, blah. One of the most transformational experiences. And on the other side, I wept. And I was like, that was scary for me to encourage and advocate. Of course, there was a process that he went through previous to it. Mm-hmm. On the other side, he said, Mom, thank you. I just watched how his life has unfolded since then and the decisions he's made. And of course, we all have challenges, but absolutely transformational. Mm. And I have just seen so many people struggle and suffer, and like the stories we carry and hang on to. And I've talked to so many facilitators that are like, yeah, when you have an adult who goes through the process and they're like, I wish I had this clarity younger. Of course, you have to get, professional advice, and my son could handle it, but absolutely transformational. And he talks about it on the podcast.
We'll put the link in the show notes. We'll grab it and get it over there. I had a bunch of other questions to ask you, but I would actually, because I know you so well and you've been on the show several times, is there anything, before we close up, anything that you want to talk about that's been big lately, or anything at all? Like, even if it's like, how are you advising people to just walk through life right now at the end of, I know you're in Canada, but you're certainly affected by everything that's happening in the world. Like, what are your thoughts on that, or anything that you want to say?
I'm noticing a big shift in the people who are like, I'm done. I'm done. I can't operate like this anymore. I can't let this energy, the external energy, control me. I feel the weight that I'm carrying and I can't let it go. I don't know how to let it go. It's slowly killing me. Here's the interesting part. My book, Dying to Be a Good Mother, came out a few years ago, like during COVID. And there was that book when I revisit it, it was prescriptive memoir on like my cancer journey and parenting and all the things. Since then, I've evolved and I can feel another book coming. I have like surrendered in this sense of I thought that message was done and over, but I've realized the dying part, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, there are people who are coming to this like, I'm done. And usually they're midlife and they're like, I'm done. I can't operate in this identity anymore. The little mental capacity I have. Why am I working so hard to feel dead inside? Why do I feel so disconnected when on paper everything looks so good? And I truly, truly, truly believe the more alive we feel, we have to fight for this aliveness. This is required not only to quote unquote survive modern day, but to thrive and to really make a pivotal impact in the world. I'm like focusing externally and just absorbing the information does not change the reality. So if I change my reality, my home, and I'm just every day, I'm like, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel? Who do I need to be? How do I want to feel? How do I become? I feel like a freaking cruise ship, just slowly, slowly, slowly changing directions. But I'm like, I don't see how we have any other option right now. Over giving, over mothering, over nurturing, without boundaries, without discernment, without literally considering our needs is not going to get us to, if we want to save the world, we gotta save ourselves so that we can help our people.
Yeah.
And we don't need to hustle and grind and do all the shit. I'm just like so over it. You want to make more money. You really don't. You want more freedom.
Yeah.
Make money, great, but also learn to feel free on the way doing it.
It's yes to everything. I don't know if I can.
It's simple.
top that.
It's so simple. I'm just kidding.
But pushes up against everything that we were raised to do. Because like when you said like good on paper, like my stomach turned because I'm like, who set the example of the paper? You know, like whose template?
Yeah. You know what else is interesting too? This whole like AI movement, right? Everyone's like AI, like this, that was big this year. And I can see it more and more that people are like, oh, I'm going to buy back time and energy. And I'm like, yeah, but you still need relationship skills. You still need critical thinking skills. You still need leadership. You still need compassion, discernment, emotional regulation. That shit is never going to go out of style. So I'm like, if we double down on the human skills, which they call quote unquote soft skills, I just see it more and more and more right now that I'm like, I'm good. And I'm just going to keep chipping away about what I'm doing. Have you ever used the brick? Have you seen these little things for your phone?
I've seen ads for them, but I'm not entirely sure what they are.
Okay. Well, we don't need to go in an ad for it right now, but I just started using it. I can already feel the lightness and effect, positive influence it has on my mental health.
Isn't it something that like it cuts the internet from your phone, your smartphone, right? Basically.
Yeah. And everything is frozen when I tap it. So you have to physically tap it. So I play games with it. So it's a physical product. So I can't turn it back on my phone. So if I have to like put it in my car, walk out to my car and tap it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go work now. I can still use like texts or whatever, but I've watched my patterns, my behavior patterns. So if it's waking up and scrolling, going to bed and scrolling, I will brick my phone before I go to bed. And I'm like, okay, watch Netflix. But just eliminating social media itself brought back so much creativity, energy, time. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild how addicted we are to the external world and how much force and intention we have to put on the internal world.
Yes. I use a similar product. I don't even know the name of it, but I think I talked about it on a different. Yeah, it's called, and they're not a sponsor. It's just I did some research and found this one worked best for me. It's called App Block, APPBLOCK. I think I paid like $30 for the year. So it's like pretty reasonable. And it's similar to that, but you get to pick which apps to block and what times. Yeah. So for me, it's like social media between 8 and 5. And I love it. But I see how people would block even like YouTube and their email and things like that. That's an option.
I just think we have so much more life inside of us. We just need to look. And I think boundaries are what is going to save the world, like healthy discernment and space and just a hard line.
And sometimes those boundaries are, you need to let me wear my top shoes from 4 to 5 p.m. every day.
100%. One life.
While I sing, oh, Senator, my Annie songs.
Are your children home when you're doing this?
They would be mortified. I would do it just to like get a rise out of them, but I don't. Thank you so much again for being here. I love that this just kind of turned into a meaty conversation, and I know it was helpful for certain people, and I appreciate you so much. Listeners, thank you for your time. I know how valuable it is, and I appreciate that you choose to spend it with me and my guests. Before we go though, where are we sending people to learn more about you? So we're going to throw those couple of links in the show notes, but where else? You have a podcast.
Yeah, the podcast, main place, Emotionally Uncomfortable. I love when people listen to this conversation. Send me a DM on Instagram. It's just my name, Heather Chauvin, Chauvin. I'm the one who responds to my messages. And yeah, I got free resources on my website. If you go to heatherchauvin.com, buying back your time, reclaiming your time and your energy.
Yeah.
Just feeling alive.
Yeah. I adore you so much. As always, I could co-host an entire show with you. Everyone, again, thank you for being here. And remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now. Hey, did you know there's free secret podcast episodes waiting for you that are not part of my regular podcast feed? Yes, AndreaOwen.com/free. And you just sign up. You get a link sent to you. It's very secret. It's like a secret club. We don't have a secret handshake. Don't worry about that. But it's these motivating podcast episodes that I made for you. They're under 20 minutes each. There's 3 of them. They're for wherever you are in your life. So head on over there and grab them. They range from really supporting you and seeing you where you are and being compassionate, all the way to giving you a giant kick in your ass and telling you how amazing and gorgeous and phenomenal you are. So AndreaOwen.com/free and get your hands on that free podcast feed.
Close your eyes. Focus. Listen to work getting done with Monday.com. Relax as AI does the manual work, while your teams are aligned on a single source of truth. Feel the sensation of an AI work platform, so flexible and intuitive, it feels like it was built just for you. Notice you're limitless. Now open your eyes, go to Monday.com, start for free, and finally, breathe.